You're listening to the Shipyard Cat Podcast, the unofficial SAFC podcast for fans everywhere. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the pod. Hosting again tonight, seems to have worked, is myself, Kev, and I'm joined by Adam. Adam, how you doing, mate?
I'm not too bad. All things considered, I'm a bit stuffy as ever, but there's other people we know of who's a little bit worse off than me at the minute, and you'll probably have a go at me.
I was going to say, you with your man flu, I think it's called a cold. Meanwhile, Robin's still in hospital, bless him, recovering. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I think out of the grand scheme of things, you can take a cup of man up and he can grip you when he listens to this back.
I'm coming off liver for 1 week. But so, no, other than that, mate, spot on. I think we're going to obviously talk about that result, but that's made that call slightly easier, shall we say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, what a result for us. You know, at the end of the day, read into it what you like. There's far too much online at the moment of, well, Sunderland haven't played any difficult teams yet. Obviously, I mentioned it in the preview. For me, we're playing teams that are in Europe for a reason. These aren't teams that have been sort of 14th, 15th, 16th. You know, only a couple of years ago, you know, Forrest were in the top. Well, last season, Forrest finished, was it 6th or 7th?
Yeah.
They're not a bad side. And obviously, Ange is a good manager, despite his poor run of results. He won the Europa League last year. Like, he's not a bad manager. He's just not got it working yet. Like, I think we've all probably watched the match and the highlights. There is some controversy in the game. Obviously, we'll talk about that. But all in all, the lads should be, in my opinion, massively proud of coming away with 3 points from that one.
Oh, yeah. 100%. Just the sheer grit, the determination. I know you said you were going to cover the goal, but after the goal, I would say for the rest of the half, I would say we pretty much dominated proceedings the rest of that half. Second half, Forrest did what Forrest do, which can punish teams, and they piled on the pressure. And to me, I don't want to turn into ref watch again like we sometimes seem to do, but it was effectively 12 against 11. The ref, every single little lot has fallen on the floor to me. The ref blew and wanted to give them the chance, but just Robin, I put in the group chat to all of us, and even though Robin's so poorly somewhat agree with me, is anyone else other than Robin Roofs in that back of the net there, that could have been double figures.
Yeah, I think he kept us in the game. I mean, it's interesting when you see there's a Forest fan that's done the rounds on Twitter saying that he doesn't feel Roofs had much to do all game. Well, that's not a flex. If you think our goalkeeper had nothing to do, you need to look at your team. I thought he was, you know, definitely up there, probably for man of the match. Some cracking saves to pull off. You know, they've got the likes of Chris Wood, who should be finishing his chances, and in fairness, other than a couple of shots, didn't really trouble Roofs, but the team as a whole should have. You know, it's if your main man can't do it, it's up to everybody else to contribute, if that makes sense. You know, I mean, the strange one for me was when they took off Ndioy. He'd been causing us bother all game, and yet still they took him off. You know, it was things like that. You know, Chris Wood did smash the ball against Roofs at one point. He had a free header at the back post, which he put well wide. It wasn't even like he hit the side netting. You know, he just wasn't at his best. But yeah, in terms of their 12 men against 11, I don't really think the ref was that bad. He let them get away with a lot very early on and seemed to give them a lot of decisions very early on because he was buying the fouls and the diving, but he wasn't punishing the simulation.
Yeah.
The irony was when he then did eventually punish them for simulation, it resulted in the goal.
Yeah.
which is why it's such a contentious point for Nottingham Forest fans, where they're kicking off saying that it was a foul, Hume studied him,
Mhm.
etc., etc. I don't know what happened in that moment because you clearly saw Hume and Dominguez go in for the same ball.
Yeah,
If anything, Dominguez actually clips Hume's shin,
yeah,
but Hume doesn't react. Hume just goes no, walks away and waggles his finger at the referee as if to say that wasn't a foul on, like I didn't do anything.
yeah,
But the ref snaps his head back and he's straight into Card Dominguez and give the free kick.
yeah.
So I don't know if that's like in his head, he's totted up how many times the simulations happened or
Mm.
what it was, but the ref just went, no, enough now. Yellow card to
So
you, free kick.
from from what I understand of the take of it, as being a defender myself, and I haven't been in obviously a similar situation because normally I would have been as of Robin would back me up and say I would have been sent off. But it's more the fact being that at first, when you look at it, if you watch it in what we could class as real time, it could be of class of human Dominguez came across to each other blade by blade, so to speak, and then the contact being made and he goes to the ground. That makes sense, but there was no contact until Trey was walking away to go back to his position, and he falls over his calf. There's the smallest of contact on the guy's car of Trey's calf, and Trey's like, "I'm walking back. I've done nothing wrong." And the ref did the right thing because I think in the rule book it is if the referee believes there is due to be no contact and simulation, it's classed as a booking for simulation and an indirect free kick to the opposite team. Lo and behold, referee, as you said, snapped his head back. So I think somebody possibly on VAR has turned on and went, "You want to check that back? Something's just happened here." Just the speed his head turned, it was like somebody's in his ear going, "That's that's a dive. Get that booked. Get that properly sorted." Either that or referee's eye has just been spotted and went, "Come on now, I'm not having this anymore,"
Yeah, I mean the
and
ref
set the
won't
tone, set the tone for it.
VAR won't intervene and they won't react that quickly. For me, it was probably the fact that Dominguez is on the floor screaming like he's been shot. So the
Yeah,
ref's gone, do you know what? You're going on like an idiot here. And he's dealt with it. Because I
yeah,
think, in fairness to the referee, he said enough. So you could tell he was getting frustrated with the amount of attempts of simulation where he was saying, get up,
yeah,
no, get up. Do you know what? The best way of stamping it out is doing how he did. We just got the
yeah,
fortune of the goal from it. But let's not, take away from the fact it's a brilliant set piece.
yeah,
You know what I mean? That is what your set piece coach teaches you to do. Trying
yeah,
something different. It was at that range where you could have gone for a 30, 35-yard screamer.
yeah,
You could have tried one of those lofty, curvy, free kicks and tried a top corner. But actually, between the two of them that were stood over the ball at the time, Enzo winks at Xhaka and says, "You know what to do."
yeah.
But yeah, I think
You took the words out of my mouth there. I was going to bring Enzo up again as I usually do, but yeah, I think it was one of those things for us where the way it looked was Enzo was going to swing the ball in. And I think I'm not saying it has caused the confusion to Forest, but it could be one of those things where they're like, right, we've trained and practiced around how I know they train for everybody's deliveries, but it was like Enzo can swing it in this kind of style. Let's watch for, say, an Alderete run if he was in like the center of it, not making the outside run, and then obviously that little wing to Xhaka just went, just effectively was just a nod from Xhaka to go right, okay, bang, Alderete off, ran, unmarked, back of the net, and that was, to me, I think that was a lovely set piece compared to what we've seen in the past for us. It was just sublime.
and that's what it is, isn't it? It's that whole you bring in a set piece coach to teach you that sort of thing. And Xhaka even said so in his post match interview that the team and the staff in the background have absolutely got that spot on. Robin said that, one of the big things Ange's been sort of noted for was being zonal. He's very
Yeah,
much you mark that area, you mark that area, you mark that area. And, you know, Alderete just sees that no one's in his zone, so runs around the outside and does what he does. I mean,
yeah.
Sells gets an arm to it, but there's enough power behind it to, well, put
Take
it
it
into the
under.
back of the net. Yeah, the momentum carried it through. But yeah, I mean, that for me is, maybe the dogged attitude that we need to have for these games is let's just use some grit and determination to try and win the game.
Indeed.
Um,
I
I
think what was the other good thing about it was, sorry to interrupt you there, was the fact being we d- we looked more hungry as well. We wanted it more than, to me, Forest. Forest didn't look like they wanted that game until, as I say, until the second half. They didn't look like they wanted that game. Don't get me wrong, came out second half and literally pelters, shall we say. They were just hitting us hard all the time. And just seeing how defensively resolute we did, and then Regis with the subs at the right time for me as well made a big difference. Bringing on, I think, was it two at 60, then another two at about 75, and then obviously brought on uh, Traore, who to me, I think he needs a bit more game time to get himself up to speed. He wasn't the quickest of people, but you could see the talent was there. And then I felt so sorry for Gertrude. How close was that for an absolute amazing second?
Yeah, I mean, you know, talking about that as the moment that could have changed the game, that would have been a 2-0, and that
Yeah.
that scoreline would have been a bit more of like a, oh, hello, Sunderland, what you up to? But, for me, the other game plan that Forest had was let's play on the referees with the newly promoted sides
Yeah.
in terms of trying to get us red carded. I think they
Yeah.
were trying to push early on to get someone on a yellow and then to try and get the second yellow quickly thereafter to take us down to 10 men.
Yeah.
And the diving in the sim, for me, that is the only thing I think Dominguez was trying to do. When he
Yeah.
went down and was holding his ankle, he was trying to say that's a high studded tackle. I've been studded on my ankle because VAR looks at that and it's that whole dangerous tackle, kind of thing. And
Exactly.
I'm sorry to say it, but teams that are trying to reduce your opposition down to 10 men is just because you're not good enough. If you need
Yeah.
to have a one-man advantage or a two-man advantage to win a game, then for me, you need to look more at what's wrong with your team. Look at how quickly they forced Siddiqui into a card. Was that, I think, the
Yeah.
ninth minute?
Yeah. It was something stupidly earlier.
The only reason you try and get Siddiqui carded that early is because he is going to cause you bother. And what it
Yeah.
did for me is it took Siddiqui technically a little bit out of the game. He wasn't able to be as risky as he normally would be or as tricky as he normally would be.
Yeah.
And it made him a weak spot in our team where Forrest then knew to try and run everything through that channel into the wings in
Yeah.
the hope that a daft pull or a daft tackle would result in the second yellow.
Mhm.
And do you know what? I say fair play to the lad for actually sticking it out and not getting pulled into a second card. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, for me, the way they were going on, the referee should have quite easily and quite early on punished them for the behaviour, the dissent. For me, Nico Williams shouldn't have probably been on the pitch in the second half because he had a yellow. He could have had a yellow early on for simulation,
Yeah.
then a yellow card early on for quite a late tackle, but he got nothing until quite late on in the game. So,
Yeah.
you
But you
know,
see it, like even after he's yellow, he was still trying to throw himself to the ground. He did that. I think it was the 91st minute or something like that when they were trying to have the big shots for the penalty decision, which didn't go their way. He just fell to the ground and nobody was around him.
yeah,
It's just like, what you doing? Like, I understand you're probably a bit tired. You want to try and prove a point because obviously, yes, they did have you on Wednesday, but it's not the point. Like, you're a professional footballer. Play football. Like that's the thing for me. Like I don't understand when teams try and do this, or because Villa tried it, and obviously Villa got the decision because obviously we've already discussed about Ronaldo's silliness, but that's what they wanted to do. And I think that's what teams are trying to do, trying to bully us into getting a red early, or any other the Premier League side that's just been promoted. Just they're trying to do it, and in our case, it didn't work. We kept our heads, and I think what was telling for me as well is Riggy's head. Riggy got wiped out once and didn't lose his temper. He was like, you know what? Watch, I can show you up, and I can do this. And credit to Granit Xhaka. I feel sorry for when he got back home to his wife and kids. Had quite a fair few players to take out of those pockets.
Yeah, I mean, look, he is showing every bit why we brought him in as a captain. I genuinely at the moment feel sorry for the likes of Dan Neil because you're not disrupting him out of the squad. Realistically, Dan Neil's opportunity is going to be kind of when the FA Cup starts in the new year. Yeah, Xhaka for me is just the immovable object.
Yeah,
He's leading that squad through thick and thin. He's clearly got them bought into the project, as he said in his post match.
yeah,
Um, and I genuinely think part of the reason we're doing so well it is because of what we've brought in. We have brought in a
yeah.
lot of players from very good positions within their clubs that were in Europe to
Yeah.
come and play at our team. I'm not saying to push for Europe, but they're of that level. So
Yeah,
actually, just getting them to gel together to do what they can in the Premier League, you know, it, it can't be coincidence that we're sitting fifth in the table as at the time of recording.
yeah.
You know,
It,
there is a
yeah,
reason we're sat in that position, I think. And I mean, Robin would probably be agreeing at this point that, you know, if you're fluking it and you're scraping the results,
yeah,
you'd be sitting 16th, 17th,
yeah,
you'd be down there. But to be sitting fifth, and at one point this weekend we were third quite comfortably.
yeah.
It's only the Tottenham result and then the Arsenal results that have actually taken us down to fifth place. We're on
Indeed,
11
yeah.
points after 6 games.
Exactly. And if you look, as you said there, 6 games and 3 wins. Like I
Mhm.
would have bit your hand off that at the start of the season, just because the
100%.
fact being it's uncanny. And you look at a lot of the predictors, shall we say, so like your journalists, your presenters on like the Sky Sports, your TNT, and etc. etc. All touted us this weekend. Everyone was like, "No, for this it'll be Forest time to come back. They'll beat them, things like that." And keep on doing it. That's my mantra at the minute. Keep on doubting us, and we'll prove you wrong. Don't get me wrong. I know obviously we'll be bringing our preview later on in the week for the Man United game. Don't get me wrong. That's going to be a tough test, a very very tough test because that's a hell of a team. Yes, they haven't had the best run of form, but you still can't count them out. Similar what I said to you off pod because this Forest team has had so many big names and some big talent, but where were they? They didn't turn up.
Yeah, that's the hardest part, isn't it? When you look at the whole, how we're getting on, it's one of those where you've got to take the result like we did. The poor result we've had this season is the Burnley game. There's no getting around that. But the turning
Exactly.
point
Yeah.
in that game was Ballard going off so early with an injury that it disrupted the play in the team and how everything was. And
Yeah.
also, the rest of the lads that had come in hadn't kind of gelled. I think we played that game again now. That's
Yes.
a different result. You
Oh,
start that,
100%.
you put that team out that started this weekend against Burnley. You don't lose someone early on to an injury. It's a different result, but we'll see that when they come to our place later on in the season. But no, I
Yeah.
think for me, the whole purpose of that game, once we got that goal in the 38th minute,
Yeah.
we then showed we can dig in and ride it out.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
me, every they threw everything at us. They turned to their bench at one point and they're bringing
Yeah.
on Hutchinson, Morgan Gibb White. They're throwing everything on that they've got, and we just took it. We just said, "Go on, then, keep going." And I loved Robin's post-match interview on Sky or BBC Sport, where he said, "I couldn't see them scoring even if we played for another 60 minutes."
Mhm.
What a confidence to have that after a game to say, "Yeah, another 60 minutes, we'd have been all right." Like, he clearly has confidence in the front line, well, or the back line that's in front of
Yeah.
him, that even if he's not doing the world, shot stopping, he can't see them getting through the defence.
Yeah, I think Trey Hume kind of alluded to that sort of mantra as well in during the week when it was him, Riggy, and Robin, and they were talking in regards to the fact being if like how confident do they feel going forward in the league and stuff like that. And Trey was like, "Well, as long as we are fine defensively, we if we are sound, but if we the ball pass, we know we've got a confident keeper and Robin behind us."
Yeah, this is
So
true.
I think for me, and I don't want to sound like I'm just downbeating Padua every time we talk about Robin Roofs, but I generally do believe if that was Padua in goal against Forest, that would have been the double figures I was saying to you two in the chat. I don't think he had the confidence to do that. Don't get me wrong, a few seasons ago, Padua, yes. But I think what's happened, and as I'm hoping, if Padua was watching the way Roofs played there, I hope if he does get his chance, I think it'll be like as you said, Kev, before, potentially be the FA Cup where we next see Pato. I hope he takes his chance to go. This is what I can actually show. This is what I can do. Why are you
I
not picking
mean,
me? But it's hard.
no, absolutely. I mean, look, the reason you bring in a goalkeeper is to upgrade your squad.
Yeah.
Patterson is a good goalkeeper. What let him down was some of his decision making and his distribution.
Yes.
And on when you see Roofs, he is that next level that, for me, Patterson should be watching and going, right, that's what I need to develop. That's what I need to do different. And hopefully, between the two of them, we end up with a solid first and second choice goalkeeper that have got no real flaws.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you just got to look at it that way. I've seen a few people on Twitter saying that for them, Hume had a bad game. I don't really think Hume had a bad game when you put on the screen what he was up against.
Exactly. Yeah. I,
And
I think a lot of people are saying that as well because don't get me wrong, there was a few sloppy passes, but what do you expect when you're getting ran ragged for pretty much 95 minutes a game? You're going to make the odd slip up here and there, as long as you've got people that you've got the confidence to get the ball back for you,
yeah,
which we do. But like to me, what I loved was the passion of Mukiele because I think it was one of the shot. I think it was the one that when Woods put it wide was the fact when he screamed at the defense saying "sort it out," or we're going to effectively, obviously, probably with a few extra words, but sort it out, or we're going to concede. And next minute, that defense, as soon as then Ballard came on as well, that defense was just so strong and resolute at the back. I do agree with Robin Roos. Play another 60 minutes, they probably wouldn't have got anywhere close of getting
yeah,
that ball in the back of the net. And I can't speak highly enough about that defense. It was just formidable, and I just want to praise Regis really. Yes, we can praise the lads as much as we want to, but can we please take a moment, like whoever's listening to this, yourself as well, Kev, and hopefully when Robin listens to it as well, let's give Regis some praise. The fact being he's first time Premier League coach and he's taken the mantle on. Obviously, we've got new coaches in as well that's giving them the backing and things like that as well, and pushing certain things. As you mentioned before, obviously, a new set piece coach as well, and things like that. But these coaches are not running scared, if that makes sense. Compared to if you look at yesteryear of the newly promoted squads, I'm going to use, and people will probably slam me for it, Vincent Company. Went from a Burnley title winning championship, came back into the Prem, And to me, he looked lost. I don't know what, I don't want to sound horrible, but whereas Regis looks calm, resolute, and like, right, okay, we're taking a battering. Right, this is what I want to do. Subs, Ballard, this is what you want to do. You sub, as soon as Ballard came on, went back four. And then was like the lads knew exactly where to be. And that to me speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. The only problem you've got with what I've seen recently is managers. What's the word? I heard on Talkspot, and I really agreed with it. It was falling upwards. So Vincent
Yeah,
Company, yes, he got promoted with Burnley and then got relegated again, but then he gets promoted
yeah,
by getting the buy-in job. Same with
yeah,
Russell Martin.
yeah,
Gets
true, yeah.
promoted with Southampton, gets relegated with Southampton, and then gets promoted upwards for me to Rangers.
Yeah,
There is a real problem at the moment with managers doing badly and getting promoted upwards, but you know, yeah, there's 1,001 examples you could give. Your mate Chris Wilder, prime example, gets a team promoted, fails to get a team promoted, gets sacked, and then 3 months later is welcomed back in with open arms as oh my god, you're the savior. Look, it happens. These things happen.
yeah,
The main thing is we focus on, yes, we've probably got one of the hottest managerial assets in the Premier League. When you look at the managerial merry-go-round that's now started, there's a lot of managers already under pressure. This weekend, Potter gets sacked,
yeah,
Nuno gets brought in. I mean, that's going to change, the West Ham sort of setup when they play Everton on Monday.
yeah,
But yeah, there's a lot more to come. You've got to think we face Man United at the weekend. Amarin's already under pressure. He now gets beaten by a newly promoted side.
yeah.
Jim Ratcliffe's got to answer some questions of do we pull the trigger and get rid of him now?
Hmm.
There's a lot of talk online that apparently with Amarin, we'll talk about this more in the Man United pod, but apparently they're waiting until November the 1st because there's a
Yeah,
break clause in his contract or something where the compensation they'd have to pay him drops drastically.
yeah,
So if his head's already checking out, we're probably playing them at the right time. But
yeah,
like I say, we'll discuss that more in depth when when we preview the Man United game. I mean, I haven't really got much else to say about the Forest game other than, yeah, we went to a very tough opponent at a very tough ground
yeah,
and we came away with the points. The only thing we didn't have was Robin's perspective on it from being in the stands because he would have been there this weekend shouting and, well,
yeah.
he'd been recording this probably sounding quite hoarse.
As per. But no, no, I think we've pretty much covered everything, which is really good. It's one of those short, sweet, and brilliant wins, and we've just got to keep on riding this momentum as high as possible, and just take it into each and every game, whether it be a win, whether it be a draw, whether it be a loss. Regardless, we still carry on, take a happy momentum in, and build as much as we can.
It's true. I mean, look, do we quickly just mention the fact that with this weekend's results, that point at Palace now looks massive when you think
Exactly. Yeah.
they beat Liverpool this weekend. And again,
Yeah.
when you talk about, when I said at the start of the pod how much we've heard non-stop, Sunderland haven't had to play a difficult side yet. Well, actually, ask Liverpool how they feel about Palace.
Yeah. Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, it's been for me, it's been a brilliant weekend of football, lads. I'm not going to lie. To our
Yeah.
listeners, I'm sure we've all probably looked at the sports, the league table a few times this weekend and gone, this is quite good, this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um, and hopefully, those that were at Forest got to absolutely enjoy the day. I would love to know people's thoughts on the 5:30 kickoff. I was a bit unsure, but from seeing some people on socials, they've said actually what an unreal kickoff time because it means you get to spend the afternoon on the beers.
Yeah.
But if you're driving to a game, maybe not so much.
I was going to say the last thing I'll say on that is, as far as I'm aware, the few people I know that went to the game, it's fair to say them coaches decided to be a party bus on the way back. So,
Bet they were. I bet they were. But
but
no, I
other than
think we'll
that,
wrap
I
it up
think
on
that's
that
it.
one.
Yeah,
Adam, thank you for joining me on this one, mate.
yeah, no worries, man, no worries. Pleasure as always, and it's nice for letting others host for a change.
Yeah, you never know. You might get your seat back at some point. Although when Robin's back, I'm sure he'll be gagging to get in the chair too. So look, for our
100%.
listeners, thank you for listening in. As ever, we appreciate your feedback on what we spout and waffle on about. Um, if any Forest fans are listening, your players need to learn to stay on the feet more. And yeah, we'll see everyone else on the next one.